attached letter and receive staff comment.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you had directed me to put it on the agenda, so the discussion can take place, but in the interim, I also attached just some comments, if you would prefer, permit me to go through those. I'll just comment on each issue in no particular thought, but just to bring you up to date, because a lot of times stuff is going on and, you know, you're not here every day, so you wouldn't be aware of those things. And a lot of this goes back to prior years. Number one, Mr. Stensgaard, Mr. and Mrs. Stensgaard have asked for a detachment from the village and consequently an annexation to the city per the ordinances, saying that if they want sewer and water from this city, they must be a part of the city, and so that's what they're asking to do. They've checked their options for providing services to their home, and because of the size of the lot and the position of things, the village, I think, agrees that that is not a possibility to correct the problem on site. And so really, they're left with very few options for fixing their issues of sewer, primarily, and water. They also, but more importantly, this particular project involved two of our current residences, the Dahmans, Mike and his son, and they both have residences there that have been in the city but have not been serviced by sewer and water because we don't have any that have been available to them. And you know, there's certain feelings that go way back. And so without getting into how their feelings are, obviously they, you know, when you talk to them, they get excited. They get excited in more than one respect. They get excited because they didn't have it before, but they also get excited about the possibilities of doing laundry and things that some people consider, you know, fundamental in their own home. And so we've had good talks with them, but they have invested in resources in their property, and you know, I'm trying to be sensitive to that they've invested their money and to try to make the best use of that, and at the same time to get some kind of conclusion as to when would they then fully hook up to the city services as offered. And so we're meeting, and we, as I note there, we have another meeting this Thursday to talk about that. In addition, there are other people who circulate in and out once in a while in that vicinity who are not residences of the city, and they ask about, you know, what's available. And so you share with them, and of course then you tell them, caution them that there's issues, and then they get a little more or less encouraged, and some go away and never come back, and others keep coming back. So keep trying to, you know, answer the questions and let them come to their conclusions. So as an issue on the public format, there have been a couple solutions offered by informal meetings I've had with village representatives. I don't know if you want those disclosed here. Some of them are not overly tasteful for perhaps a council member, and others, you know, it's just some new ideas. So different ways that could be handled as far as how they see it. Item 2, you see attached a sheet that was provided to the village back in November in response to a request that they'd like to see what it would cost if they bought water from the city of Rushford. And so we, the least expensive way we could see to hook them up and keep it reasonable with residents of the city, because obviously the city residents don't want to just give the water away. They want it to be fair with what they pay. We worked on a situation where we would treat them as a single user. So it'd be as if a big factory came in and said, we want to buy water. We'd put a meter in, we'd sell the water to their building, and then if they send it to 1,000 toilets, so be it. And that's how we would treat them. And so it's based on the size of the meter that's used to meter the flow of water. Now, if you used a real small meter, if that was possible, you could drive the cost way down. But it's not possible because you can't get enough water through the small meter, so you've got to have either a 4, 6, or 8. That's still subject to some engineer has to determine what that is. I'm guessing, and the village agrees, that it's going to be either a 6 or an 8-inch meter that they're going to end up having to use to get enough water flowing. Now they've asked, you know, generally about water, but they didn't Of course, they won't commit to whether they want to buy all of their water, or a little bit of their water, or part of their water from the city. And so we need to be in a position to do, sort of give them an idea of all of those, and that's what the three examples do. The reason they're struggling with knowing whether they're buying all or none, or a little bit, is they've looked at several different facilities to do their own. I think that keeps driving them back to Rushford, because I think Rushford, you know, from our perspective, is a good deal. And then, of course, the issue is, how do you hook into their system? Their water tower sits up on the hill, and the way that they control the most how much water they buy is to run a pipe from the meter all the way up to that water tower. I don't know how far that is, but it's a good length, and you know, it would be fairly costly, and that's their expense. The cheapest way for them to be involved in the water would be to hook it to the nearest pipe, and then if they were buying all their water from Rushford, that would be the easiest and the least expensive way for them to put a meter in, hook up to the pipe, and away things go. But I think some of their members are careful that they would like to maintain always the ability to draw water out of the well, and then draw some from Rushford, and then mix it, and if they can pass the tests, then they would prefer to do it that way. But each way has different, you know, cause and effect and different costs for them to understand. And by the length of time that it's taken to hear, I would assume they've had, judging from their minutes, they've had several, you know, engineers in and out, and they keep looking for another engineer to give them a different answer. And I think we just need to let them kind of continue to search, and when they arrive at their conclusion as to what they want to do, they know the numbers that the city would offer them, and my guess is if you have a discussion, the question will be, do you want to do it for less money? Is generally the way they always ask me.
This is a radium problem.
Yes. Essentially, they looked at doing a plant like we did. They looked at buying water from us, and then there's a magic filter plant that somebody brought to them that they've examined. And I think, well, they want you maybe to believe that the magic filter is the way to go, is by far the most expensive way, or not most expensive, but building a plant would be extremely expensive. They couldn't afford it for the few customers they have, 100 or so. We've done what we can, and we're trying to work with, we've provided this material to Rural Water, and they're working with them and doing the best we can to give them what they ask for, and at this point they haven't come back and asked for anything different, so.
But they have asked for a meeting.
In this letter, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. The Comanche Road, I don't believe is an issue. We're having the attorney review it one more time, but the 66-foot right-of-way that the mayor happens to remember was the old village road that has been totally eliminated and abandoned from one end to the other. And the only road that's there is an informal road that was built by the city in conjunction with the village, actually working together in a collaborative effort to maintain and build. And that serves the gas company that we traded land for. It serves as a connection point for the driveway that goes down to the Comanche property, which is a private drive. And it serves as an entrance to the backside of the Dar property that he purchased in the Rush Creek Business Park. So that's what the surveys show. We're double checking though. Mr. Springer's office is looking at it one more time. But at this point, that's as much as we can find.